Hi, welcome. My name is Johnny Fergan. I'm from All Toll Coaching. What I want to talk to you today is why even close friends or family that are going into drugs or gambling or all sorts of bad addictions, you have to let them go. But before we start, I'd like to talk about book again and our upcoming book launch, How to Be a Man, What Your Father Never Taught You. So what is our book all about? It's how to be a man in this feminized society. We talk about manhood. What is a man? How to be a man. Women, relationships and sex. Media manipulation, indoctrination by the movies. Health, food and exercise and why it's so important. Money, wealth, what you need to know, what you're not taught at school. Value, what it is and why it's so important. How to overcome the biggest phenomena of our generation of depression and fear, when more than 8 people commit suicide a day in Australia. Look up www.abs Australian Bureau of Statistics.com.au/suicide. You'll find it all there. And you will see that number is growing. And if it was up to me, I'll have a royal commission into suicide in Australia, where the media collaborate with governments and institutions, especially those supposedly helping suicide, when they don't do nothing. Because if they did something and the number would decrease, they won't be able to ask for more fundings from the Australian government. And I explain this in my book. Happiness and fulfillment, feminism, the real truth, family court and consequences, false accusations, how to be social, build a great network, social etiquette, keep up, how to maintain relationships, summary of the rules that will save your life, sources and resources. So today I'd like to talk about something personal that happened to somebody I know. I will not use names, but I will title this video, How Certain People, even family members, you have to let go when they're druggies or gamblers. First of all, I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine. We'll call him Jeff. He used to live in Maroubra in Sydney years ago. He used to fix computers and he was fantastic. He was self-taught and people loved him. At the time, I'm talking about 15 years ago, he used to make more than $2,000 a week. In today's money, probably $3,500, $4,000 a week. This is how good he was. He was busy, he got a motorbike, had his little toolbox, and he was going everywhere. He was busy all day long. But he became cocky, and he started using drugs, heavy drugs, not once or twice. I spoke to him to stop, and yeah, I can stop whenever I want, blah, blah. And one day, I was in East Gardens in Sydney, and I stopped being in touch with him, stopped contacting him because all he was doing is taking drugs, going on binges. And one day I was in East Gardens, his mother saw me and screamed, John, 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 please speak to him, blah, blah, blah. So me, in my stupidity, I went and rang him, and I went to see him a couple of days later, and the conversation carried on more or less on these lines. John, good to see you, blah, 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 good to see you, Jeff. So I said to him, look, I spoke to your mom, I spoke to your dad, your situation deteriorating. And he lived in a mess. Now, I'm not saying that I live in luxurious, but at least I know where my clothes are. It was a mess. You can smell the smell of you know who knows what. And I said, man, Jeff, you can't continue like this. Your mother's crying, your father's upset. You have no friends anymore. Look what happened to you. So he said to me the following thing. John, you're an idiot. You were an idiot. You are an idiot, and you'll always be an idiot. At that point, I wanted to punch him, but obviously I didn't. He said to me, you know why? Because you don't understand. I can stop whenever I want. I said, well, why didn't you stop? Because I don't want you, I like it. So I looked at him, I waited a couple of seconds, I said, if you're trying to convince me, you're deluded. If you're trying to convince yourself, me you haven't convinced, if you're trying to convince yourself, you're deluded. At that point, he started abusing me, and I left. His mother rang me after a couple of days to see what happened. I told her what happened in the situation. I didn't want to make it worse than it was because he abused me, and I tried to calm him down, but he didn't because he was going through one of those moods. And the phrase, you just don't understand, I can stop whenever I want, is used by all druggies and all gamblers. When they delude themselves and lie to themselves that they can, but they can't. So, this brings us to the story of a close friend of mine. A couple of months I've traveled overseas with him, and he was binge drinking and taking drugs. He thinks I didn't know it, but I kept my mouth shut because of overseas. I didn't want to escalate the situation and fight with him in a foreign country. But on the way back, I told him and I warned him to stop what he's doing. I'm not going to go into details now about what he did and where he did and what he did. But I warned him and he said, no problems, John, I'm stopping. He came back to Australia, started working in a job, and not once or twice he didn't turn up on a Monday. Because obviously he was binge drugging, binge doing drugs, and obviously he didn't wake up on a Monday. A couple of months ago we had a course of a close friend of ours on Sunday night. I told him this before, weeks in advance, and he said no problems. The event started at 7 o'clock in Sydney. He rang me at 6 p.m. to tell me he's not coming because he just woke up. Now I wonder how many people wake up at 5:30, 6 p.m. on a Sunday evening, unless you're binge drinking and doing drugs. This fellow has confined in me and his father that he was on antidepressant and he was going through euphoria and depression not once or twice. To make the situation even worse, he told me on no uncertain terms that he wants to end it all once and for all. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. I rang another close friend of ours and I told him about this situation, and he confided in me that he said that to him too. I scrambled and I rang another person to find out his phone number. Eventually I looked on Facebook and I found his father, contacted him, he contacted me early one morning, and I told him about the grave situation his son is in and he should take this seriously. To this he dismissed and he said to me, nah, that's not a problem. I said, no problems, I'm just telling you what I know. I didn't want to tell him all about the drug abuse he did overseas and the drugs here, but he did know that he was on antidepressant not once or twice. And he confided in me his father that a couple of weeks earlier he rang him and he said, Dad, I want to say to you goodbye for the last time. His father freaked out and rang the police. Just a couple of days ago, a friend of mine that is still friends with him because I cut him off, said to him if it wasn't for him he'd commit suicide. And to me he sent an email that if I commit suicide, I'll blame it on you because of you put me in a very, very bad state of mind. So why am I telling you this story? Because druggies and gamblers will convince you, and they really believe in what they say, that they're going to stop. But in 95% of the cases, if they do not receive professional help, they're not going to help. They're going to go for euphoria and depression. When they go out with you because they know that I open my mouth, they'll tell you everything's fantastic. But when they go home, they go into massive depression and they go through spikes. And the reason I know his situation is deteriorating, because they met a couple of women and one of them suggested to get a line of coke, and he didn't have to look very far. He just went on the phone and rang the coke dealer. So what does that tell you? Does this person stop? So these druggies and these gamblers will convince you that they're going to stop. They really believe that. They're trying to convince you, but really they're lying, not only to you, to me, to all of us, but they're lying to themselves. And there's a time and a place in life where we have to help our fellow man, give them a hand to pull them out. But I'm warning you now, not to be deluded and not to be deceived by the lies of these people, that not only they don't want to get your hand and pull them out of the abyss, they want to drag you with them and bring you into the abyss with them. So these druggies and these gamblers that tell you they're going to change, they're liars unless they receive professional help, and they really want to change, because most of them don't, because they delude themselves tomorrow, and they lie so well, and they look at you in the face because they believe their own fucking lies, because they lie to themselves that they're going to change. It's a lie, and I've seen this happen again and again and again. So this particular individual, I let him go, because in my personal humble opinion, he is in danger of committing suicide or going on a drug binge that is going to result in suicide. I don't wish anybody bad, especially not with this particular individual, but sometimes we have to protect ourselves, and this fellow is going to go and die. We all know when there's going to be investigation and a report from the coroner, they're going to look at it, and we all know what's going to happen. And I've seen this many, many times before about people that said they can stop whenever they want. I've given you 1 or 2 stories today, but I know many, many stories by fellow friends and colleagues. So don't believe these liars and these deceivers They lie to you and look at you in the face. And the reason they lie so well, because they believe their own lies. So sometimes these druggies and gamblers, you have to let them go. Because if you don't, they drag you into abyss and bring you with them inside. And when things go pear-shaped, guess who they're going to blame? They're going to blame you and everybody else. And they never take accountability and responsibility for their actions. Because they all have one thing in common: they're victims. So don't be the victim that you're deceived by these druggies and gamblers. Let them go, cut them off, don't abuse them, block them. I kept all the SMSs and all the emails of this particular individual that abused me and what he said to me after everything I've done to him. Because when things turn badly, I'll have evidence what he did and why I'll no longer want to associate with people like him. Thank you very much. I really, really hope nothing happens to him. I really hope he takes this in good faith and will help change his life. If he doesn't, you're on your own. Because at one stage, as a man, you have to stand alone and take action and accountability. If not, you're just a peasant looking for validation from other people. Thank you very much. Email me if you got any problems, john@sosdating.com. I can change your life. The question is, do you want to? Or you can keep doing the same thing again and again, expecting different results. Thank you very much for listening. Subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for listening. I'm your friend, Johnny Forget.